In today's video, we are going to be going over 11 signs you have a histamine intolerance and what you can do about it. Histamine is a chemical in the body that plays a role in digestion, the immune system, and communication with the brain. The body produces histamine, but we can also get it from food. Now, a histamine intolerance isn't actually an intolerance, but an indicator that your body has built up too much. And this buildup can happen for a few reasons. Our bodies naturally produce an enzyme called diamine oxidase, or DAO, that is made to break down excess histamine from food. But if your body is not making an adequate amount of DAO, and you are getting a lot from your diet, that is when you can develop a histamine intolerance and experience the symptoms we are about to talk about. Reasons you might be DAO deficient include if you take certain medications such as pain medications, antibiotics, diuretics, and antidepressants, which prevent production of DAO, if you have a GI disorder such as leaky gut, IBS, or a bacteria overgrowth, and also if you consume high amounts of foods that block DAO production, which we'll get into in this video, and or you consume high amounts of foods that trigger a histamine response. If you fall into any one of these categories, you are at a greater risk of having a histamine intolerance. So in today's video, we are going to discuss 11 signs of histamine intolerance and what you can do to prevent and combat it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kate. I'm a health coach and I post videos on a high-fat, nutrient-dense way of eating. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, feel free to share, and make sure to subscribe. And make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook where I share new posts every single day. We're gonna start today talking about the foods that are high in histamines, and this is so that you can make the connection between these foods and the symptoms. Then we'll get into the symptoms and we'll talk about how to prevent and combat them. Foods high in histamine. Now, before we get into it, I just want to quickly note that there is nothing inherently bad about foods that are high in histamines. A lot of foods that I'm going to mention are very healthy, but they might not be appropriate for someone who is currently histamine intolerant. But anyways, here are the foods that are high in histamines. Fermented foods, including fermented vegetables such as sauerkraut and kimchi, fermented dairy such as aged cheeses and yogurts, fermented beverages such as alcohol and kombucha, smoked foods such as smoked meat or smoked salmon, dried foods such as dried fruit or beef jerky, canned foods such as pickles or fish, pork, shellfish, avocados, eggplant, and spinach. In general, any foods that are aged or fermented are going to have higher levels of histamines, and any foods that are fresh are going to have lower levels. Again, I want to reiterate that if you are not histamine intolerant, there is no reason to avoid these foods. But if you find that after you eat these foods, you experience some of the symptoms we're about to get into, that might be a sign that you are histamine intolerant. So now let's get into the symptoms. Number one, a runny nose. So the first few symptoms we're going to talk about are the most common ones. Histamine intolerant symptoms can look a lot like seasonal allergies, and that includes having a runny nose. This is because of the role that histamines play in the immune system. Typically, the body only releases small amounts of histamines to keep the body in balance. But when you are faced with an allergy trigger, say you are allergic to pollen, your immune system releases a larger amount of histamines to defend you. This causes inflammation around the affected area as the histamines work to get rid of the trigger from your body, and this causes the symptoms associated with allergies. But when it comes to a histamine intolerance, the same thing happens, except for instead of a trigger, it's due to a buildup of histamines. Number two, hives. Another symptom that can look like allergies includes hives and itchy skin. Number three, irregular periods. Now, histamine intolerance is actually more common in women than men, and a lot of women don't realize that their irregular menstrual cycle could be due to a histamine intolerance. Many women find their histamine intolerance is worse just before their period, and there is a reason for this. It has to do with how our hormones affect histamine. Estrogen actually increases histamine production. So at times of the month when estrogen is higher, histamine intolerance can be worse. But not only that, histamine also stimulates the ovaries to make more estrogen, which becomes a vicious cycle. And these hormonal changes can impact your period and cause it to become irregular. Number 4, headaches or migraines. Histamine intolerance can also cause headaches and migraines. For people who experience chronic migraines, researchers suspect one common cause overlooked could be due to an accumulation of histamine in the body. Number 5, nasal congestion. This is another one that can look like seasonal allergies. If you find you have a stuffy nose after you eat the foods that we talked about before, this could be a sign of a histamine intolerance. Number 6, digestive distress. Histamine intolerance can also cause you to experience digestive distress. It all depends on where the histamine is released. If it is released in the gut, then you might experience an upset stomach. Number 7, fatigue. The next symptom of a histamine intolerance is fatigue. An overactive immune system can cause you to become tired during the day. Number 8, irregular heartbeat. A histamine intolerance can also impact the heart, causing your heart rate to become irregular, and you might even experience heart palpitations. Now, the rest of the symptoms we're going to talk about are a bit less common, but they can also be a bit more serious. Number 9, dizziness. Now, some people find that after they eat foods that are high in histamine, they become lightheaded and dizzy. Number 10, high blood pressure. This is another symptom that a lot of people are not aware of. But your high blood pressure might be caused by a histamine intolerance. Histamine itself actually lowers blood pressure. However, it triggers the release of other substances such as adrenaline, which increase blood pressure. Number 11, stomach cramps. And the final symptom we're going to talk about today is stomach cramps. This can happen, again, if the histamine is released in the gut and can obviously be quite uncomfortable. What to do? So what can you do if you have a histamine intolerance? The first thing to do is to reduce the amount of high histamine foods in your diet to reduce the buildup. These are the foods we mentioned earlier in the video, such as fermented foods, aged foods, and smoked foods. But there are other foods that trigger a histamine response that you want to be mindful of. Tomatoes, bananas, wheat, beans, citrus fruit, certain types of nuts, including walnuts, cashews, and peanuts, food dyes, and other food additives. All of these trigger your body to release histamine. So basically, you want to stick to fresh food as much as you can and reduce anything that is aged or fermented. Fresh meat will have a lower histamine content than meat that has been in your fridge for a couple days. Fresh seafood is good as well, with the exception of shellfish. Eggs are also low histamine. Fresh cheeses, fresh vegetables and fruits, with the exception of the high histamine ones that we spoke about earlier. Coconut, olives, and mushrooms are all low in histamine. And nuts, other than the ones we mentioned before. Now, you also might want to eat foods that are rich in DAO or supplement DAO. Beef kidney is an example of a food that is super rich in DAO, although I know it's not the most appealing. There are, however, a few companies that are doing kidney supplements, which make it a lot more tolerable. I will link to some of those in the description box down below, ones that are available in Australia, in the US, and internationally, and I do have a few promo codes, so I'll put those down there as well. Beyond that, vitamin B6 has actually been linked to a DAO deficiency, so making sure you are getting adequate amounts of that nutrient can help as well. Red meat, fish, and eggs are all excellent sources of vitamin B6. It is mainly found in protein-rich food, but it can also be found in some starchy foods as well. Now, before I wrap up, I just want to say that there isn't considered to be a cure for histamine intolerance, but a lot of people find that when they reduce the buildup in their system and when they increase their DAO, their symptoms reduce drastically. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for you today. So to quickly recap the symptoms, number 1, runny nose. Number 2, hives. Number 3, irregular period. Number 4, headaches or migraines. Number 5, nasal congestion. Number 6, digestive distress. Number 7, fatigue. Number 8, irregular heartbeat. Number 9, dizziness. Number 10, high blood pressure. And number 11, stomach cramps. But anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this up here. Let me know in the comment section down below how many of these symptoms you have, and if you already knew you had a histamine intolerance. I love chatting with you guys in the comment section. I try to get back to as many comments as I can within the first couple hours after I upload, so I will talk to you guys some more there. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and share it with a friend or family member who you think might find it helpful. If you did enjoy this video, you might also enjoy my video on how to lower blood sugar fast. You can check it out here. If you want to catch up on my most recent upload, you can find it here. And if you want to check out my keto diet and carnivore diet coaching programs, you can find them here. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.